1,500 years ago, the Arabian Peninsula was an unforgiving landscape, both physically and socially. It was a region defined by constant tribal warfare, deep social stratification, and a total absence of centralized law. Historians call this era Jahiliyyah. The regional economy and social order revolved around idolatry, and its epicenter was Mecca, where the Kaaba housed hundreds of tribal idols, drawing lucrative pilgrimage traffic from across the desert. Into this religious hierarchy, Muhammad was born in 570 CE. Long before any claims of prophethood, he earned a distinct reputation among the Meccan elites for his reliability as a merchant and his skill as an arbitrator. At age 40, he began preaching a message of strict monotheism and radical social equality. To Meccan power brokers like Abu Jahl and Abu Sufyan, a message declaring all humans equal was a direct threat to the economic monopoly they maintained over the tribal shrines. The early Islamic movement immediately collided with the financial interests of the Arabian elite. By challenging the idols, Muhammad was challenging the very foundation of Mecca's wealth and political dominance. The ruling tribes responded with years of torture and embargoes. When these failed to stop the movement, the Meccan leadership organized an assassination plot, drawing a sword from every major tribe to ensure collective responsibility for the prophet's death. Under the cover of darkness, Muhammad evaded the search parties and slipped out of the city. Over several days, he navigated a grueling 450-kilometer evasion route north, an event known as the Hijrah. His destination was the oasis city of Medina. The local tribes there had been exhausted by decades of civil war and invited Muhammad specifically to act as an impartial sovereign and judge. He immediately began the work of state building. He drafted a formal constitution and established a defense pact with the local Jewish tribes, decreeing that all citizens would defend the city as a unified force against external threats. The migration provided the early Muslims with physical territory. The movement had transitioned from a persecuted religious minority into a sovereign geopolitical state with its own borders. To sustain this new state, the Muslims began targeting Meccan trade caravans that passed near Medina, applying direct economic pressure to the power structure that had exiled them. In 624 CE, a Muslim force of just 313 men faced a Meccan army of 1,000 at the wells of Badr. By utilizing superior discipline and bottlenecking the terrain, the Muslims crushed the Meccan vanguard and secured a victory that established them as a legitimate military power. The Meccan elite responded a year later, marching 3,000 heavily armed troops, including specialized cavalry, directly to the outskirts of Medina. The armies met at the base of Mount Uhud. The Muslims initially held the advantage, but archers stationed on this hill abandoned their posts. This opening allowed the Meccan cavalry commander, Khalid bin Walid, to circle around and strike the Muslim rear. The Battle of Uhud was a tactical catastrophe that resulted in heavy losses, yet the Meccan army failed to capture Medina. Surviving this massive counteroffensive proved that the Muslim state could no longer be eradicated by force. 2 years later, Mecca assembled a massive coalition of 10,000 soldiers with a single objective: lay siege to Medina and eliminate the Muslim leadership once and for all. Medina was naturally protected by lava fields and mountains on 3 sides. To cover the exposed north, they dug a massive trench to neutralize enemy cavalry. The coalition's horses were unable to cross the chasm, creating a stalemate. After weeks of freezing weather and dwindling supplies, the 10,000-man army retreated in disarray. With the military threat broken, Muhammad negotiated the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah. The deal contained terms that seemed heavily skewed in Mecca's favor, including a 10-year truce and the forced return of Meccan defectors. While many of his followers saw the deal as a humiliation, it provided a strategic pivot. By neutralizing the southern front with Mecca, the Muslims secured their borders, allowing them to shift their forces north and subjugate hostile fortresses like Khyber. The truce lasted 2 years, until Meccan allies attacked a tribe under Muslim protection. This breach of the defense pact legally voided the Treaty of Hudaybiyyah. Muhammad mobilized immediately, marching toward Mecca with 10,000 men. Realizing they were completely outmatched, the Meccan leadership surrendered the city without a fight. Muhammad entered the Kaaba and destroyed the tribal idols, then declared a general amnesty for his former persecutors. With Mecca secured, the Arabian tribes rapidly unified under a single administration. This new state now shared a border with the Roman Empire, the era's dominant superpower. The bloodless surrender of Mecca transformed a regional religious movement into a unified political power. Arabia was no longer a collection of warring tribes, but a centralized state ready to challenge the reigning empires of the world. Following reports of Roman mobilization, Muhammad led an army of 30,000 men to the northern border at Tabuk. The Roman forces, seeing the scale of the Muslim mobilization, withdrew their garrisons without engaging. This show of force prompted nearly every remaining tribe to seek alliance with Medina, bringing all of Arabia under a single sovereign. The momentum pushed the state's boundaries into a global area of influence, setting the stage for the subsequent caliphates. Shortly after this final consolidation of power, Muhammad passed away in Medina, marking the end of his 23-year mission. In just over 2 decades, the Arabian Peninsula was transformed into a disciplined, centralized civilization. By replacing tribal blood feuds with a unified legal and spiritual identity, Muhammad created a state that would go on to replace the ancient empires of the Middle East.